and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin, and I am your host tonight. Today I have with me one very special friend and Infinity Bro. It's Robbie Sauter. How are you doing, Robbie?
I am so happy to be here. Vecna did not get me. I listened to the Infinity Bros podcast, and it pulled me out of Vecna's curse. And I am free to run up that hill and talk Stranger Things.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we even go any further, what's her name again? Kate? Is it Kate Bush?
Kate Bush.
Kate Bush. I just saw a stat that she has earned like over 2 million from streams of her song since Stranger Things came out. That is absolutely buck wild. Congratulations to Kate Bush. Like, I don't think she's ever been like super popular because I had never heard of her before this. That's not saying much, but it's so crazy that like 40 years after your song releases, you're making that much money on it. Like, props to her. That's amazing. But so if you didn't catch it, we are going to be talking about Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. Got a lot of stuff to get into, but first, we did want to mention that we have a lot of great chat on the front half of this episode on our Patreon exclusive uncut episode, the Infinity Bros Unhinged. So make sure you guys go check that out. Check out our Patreon for some exclusive Infinity Bros content. And we might even be able to get in on a Patreon exclusive giveaway of some merch or some pops. So make sure you check that out. But we're going to be diving into Stranger Things in just a few minutes here. But first, we want to make sure that you know how we rate things on the Infinity Bros podcast.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
And we also would like to say that we're going to be spoiling all of Stranger Things 4, but specifically Volume 2. We're going to be talking about the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things 4. So make sure you pause this episode, subscribe to our podcast, go watch the rest of Stranger Things 4, and come back and give us our thoughts on social media platform after you listen.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
So, Robbie, anyways, I did mention that we had a nice little chat about kind of like the state of superhero genre, like movies and TV and stuff like that, on our Patreon exclusive portion of this podcast. Man, it's so crazy to see like phase 4 of the MCU. Everybody is there's still quite a bit of talk about it, but like it seems like just the downward trend of thoughts is kind of on the downhill on superhero genre.
The hype
in general
is dying.
The hype, there you go. That's a good way to say that. Like, they're still obviously doing well. Like, Doctor Strange, did Doctor Strange make $1 billion? It was very close the last time I remember checking, but it was like in the 900 plus.
So. I don't know.
And so we've had some, and obviously Spider-Man No Way Home made a butt ton of money. I think that was at like 1.8 billion the last time I checked. So, it's not like it's dead right now, but it is, I would say the hype is kind of slowly dying. So it's kind of nice to get a fresh series that maybe has a little bit of superhero elements like Stranger Things. And Stranger Things Season 4 has been incredible. You can check out our first Volume 1 review, which is, I believe... Check out which episode of the Infinity Bros podcast that is. But I think that's episode like 120 of the Infinity Bros podcast.
Because I think 121 was me and Mark, correct?
Yeah, I think you're right. So check out the Infinity Bros podcast review of Volume 1 of Stranger Things 4. and then come and listen to this one. So we're going to just dive right in, but make sure you check out the Patreon exclusive content to get a little bit more insight of Robbie and our thoughts on kind of just the state of superhero movies and TV as it sits right now. So, Robbie,
a little bang for your buck.
Yeah, a little bang for your buck for sure. So a lot of cool things happening over at the Infinity Bros Patreon. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Well, Robbie, Stranger Things 4. I think we've been talking about this for, months now with the first installment coming out quite a long time ago. But finally getting around to recording our review on Volume 2. Why don't you go ahead and just tell us your review of Volume 2, so that would be the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things, and then Stranger Things 4 as a whole. What was your rating and kind of just a quick review of your general thoughts on this season of Stranger Things?
It's easy on both ends of that because they're both 6s. They're both 6 out of 6. This show does so many things well. It's hard to even nitpick at some things. There's some things that maybe you don't love, like some of the stuff with 11 where she's at the new school and is going through the teenage angst stuff. There's things here and there that you could maybe try to nitpick, but it's hard to even nitpick this show. And maybe I'm just being biased because I really, really love it. But there's just so much good happening here. And I think what some people are upset about is that there was a report that the Duffer Brothers said that multiple people were going to die, and then they expected a bunch of the main characters to die, and then they were like, no, this isn't Westeros, this isn't Game of Thrones, some characters are going to die, but it's not going to be the main characters. No, stop killing new characters that we love. But no, as this is the outside of season 1, which I feel gosh, it'd be close if I had to rank them. I don't know right now where I would set on ranking them. It's this season or season 1 are the best. That's where I'm at.
I'm with you there.
Season 2 is a close, 2 or 3 or whatever. I don't this season 1's 1A, this is 1B. Season 2 is 2. Season 3 is 3. That's the best I can give you.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I think, man, this is neck and neck with season 1 for being my favorite season as well. I'll go ahead and just give my rating, then we'll talk a little bit about kind of where we rank these. But I am absolutely on the same page as you. 6 out of 6 for Volume 2. Both of these episodes are just epic conclusion to this season. And the whole season itself, absolutely 6 out of 6. When you guys, I don't know if you were on that episode, Robbie. I don't remember who it was. I definitely think Max was on that episode, but they were ranking. They were ranking their episode or their order of where they would rank the seasons of Stranger Things. And
I was on that.
I think you were on that episode. Yeah, I remember. I remember you and Max talking about that. So, but man, 4 and 1 are really tough. I think I was on the same page as you, where I think before you had said 1 was your number 1, just because of the nostalgia, because of the whole. It was such a new and just fresh show at the time. We didn't have anything like it, and it was just it was one of those shows where you were oh my gosh, this is incredible. You have to go see this. This is a must see show. And that was just a really cool callback. But I think I would go 1, 4, and then probably, I don't know. I actually really enjoyed 3. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy 3 as much.
Max really enjoyed 3 as well.
Yeah, I think 2 and 3 are kind of right neck and neck for me as well. I'd probably go 3 and then 2 last. Not saying 2 was bad, obviously. I wonder if I would rank all of these seasons 5.5 or 6 out of 6. I'd have to go back, and honestly, I haven't rewatched any of this show either, so I think that's due on my watch list at some point, is to go back to season 1, just rewatch the whole show, just to kind of see where I sit now that now that we're one season away from the show being over. So, which is kind of wild to think about. But yeah, I think so. Mine would probably be 1, 4, 3, 2. So, and you said yours, where are you actually sitting though between the 4 and the 1? Because I know you said you're kind of right there with me with them being neck and neck.
Like I said, they're one, like, I think nostalgia wise, I'd give season 1 like the 1A, and then season 4 would be like the 1B. I mean, that's a really stupid way of just saying season 1's number 1, season 4's number 2.
Mm-hmm. They're both so good. It's hard to.
They're both so good, and they're good for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that would take away from season 4 compared to season 1 is that in season 1 you just grow to love this like little ragtag group, and it's a very tight knit group, and now it's season 4 is so big,
and you had a lot of characters that were following around in season
and there's
4.
a bunch of storylines you're following now, right? Like there's like how many? There's like 4 different storylines that we're following. Where season 1 was you followed basically 2 storylines, and it was like simple, and you just loved everyone. And you just wanted everyone to be safe.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So yeah, I mean we're both on the same page. Incredible conclusion to season 4. And we're not going to really break it down by episodes of volume 2. What we're going to talk about is probably just go through there's like 3 different crews that we're following, like 3 different, there's probably more storylines if you really want to break it down, but there's 3 kind of main ones, and that's the Russia crew. We've got Hopper, Murray, and Joyce going over to Russia to bring Hopper back. We've got the California crew, which is the Byers. We've got Will and Jonathan, Mike, 11, and Argyle. Argyle's included in that. Those guys are kind of on the way. And then, that storyline kind of branches out as 11 goes to her, Nina, Project Nina, like storyline where she goes through all her memories and gets her powers back and stuff like that. And then the last one is the Hawkins crew. All the people left over in Hawkins. So we've got Steve, Robin, Nancy, Dustin, Lucas, Max, kind of everybody that's still left in Hawkins at the time. So we'll kind of break it down into that. So we'll start out with the Russia crew first. So we got chapters 8 and 9. We're talking about Papa and Piggyback. And I believe we start out chapter 8 with they're like home free, basically. They're getting out. They've got Yuri with them, and he's trying to get the helicopter going so they can go home. And they basically decide to go back to the jail so they can kill these Demogorgon demidogs and help out the kids. Which, that kind of was like a little...
Well, they had to go back and they wanted to fight the, what do they call it? The mist or whatever that it was.
Right, yeah, the mist
because they thought that would hurt, like, whoever, like, that 11 would have to fight.
Exactly, yeah. And that was, I feel like, just if you step back and look at it, that whole storyline, the storyline itself, like, branching into that, totally fine, like, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
When we come up to that point, it's like... They just are like going back into this prison basically on a hunch that it's going to help like everybody back in Hawkins. And that kind of made me pause a little bit. I was like, it's kind of odd that they're going back. But at the same time, like I think one of them had mentioned that they would never make it back in time anyways to help.
Well, that's what it was, is that they had like the helicopter, whatever thing that Yuri had, like they knew he was stalling.
Right.
So they were like, you have to get this fixed. While you're doing that, we're going to do what we can to help the kids. So like they thought if we go back and destroy the mist or whatever, that's going to help the kids fight whatever they're fighting. I guess I'm blanking on how did they know that they were fighting it?
So, yeah. That's a
I'm
good
blanking
question.
on that answer actually right now.
Basically, from what I remember, doesn't Joyce call back home and she can't get a hold of them either? So basically, she knows they're in trouble.
No. They remember Hopper talks to the one agent lady, and they have to use code the entire time.
That's true. Yeah,
and he finds out that Yeah, that's it.
That's true. Okay, yeah.
So he finds out that they're fighting something, and then they realize, I need to help 11. And they're like, if we attack that thing... Because it was like, that'll be a distraction. That was the plan. Like, it'll be a distraction to whatever they're fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and that... I don't know, like... So in the previous, like, iterations of Stranger Things, we've had the Mind Flayer, we've had the Demogorgon, we've had all these guys, and then leading up to Vecna... And this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that we've been introduced to this mist, which Vecna shows in the last episode that Vecna, he uses that to become what he is. We don't really know anything beyond that. Like, we don't really know anything about this mist. We don't know what it is. We don't know anything about it. So that part of it is kind of like, to me, I was like, you know nothing about this stuff, and you're just kind of assuming that it's gonna help you beat this very...
Well, didn't they found out that that's what, like, isn't that what they found out that 11 was seeing in those, like, her visions and whatnot? Like, she was seeing those big mist monsters, or was that that
was Will, like, way back.
Will.
Way
Will
back
figured that out
in season 1, and then we kind of get a recall to that when Vecna is getting those powers. We get the kind of like big spider thing.
No, the
like
Black Widow. Black Widow.
The Black Widow.
Yeah.
The Mind Flayer is kind of like a mini version of that, honestly. Like when season 3 came around, it seemed like the Mind Flayer was like a realistic, like mini version of that giant spider illusion thing that Will was seeing in season 1. But yeah, I don't know. That part of it just kind of was like a little odd to me. But at the same time, like they all said, they were like not going to make it back in time to be able to help them anyway. So it's like, okay, cool, whatever. I personally absolutely loved that storyline. David Harbour has become one of my favorite actors. Like, I absolutely loved him in Black Widow. He was hilarious. I haven't seen Hellboy. I think Zane was telling me that wasn't
either,
great.
Actually.
But I love that he's getting these like big roles now, you know, stemming off of his starring in Stranger Things. So I absolutely love him. Murray, hilarious. Like when he whips out his giant flamethrower to save Joyce and Hopper when they're getting attacked by the Demogorgon and the Demidogs. That was awesome. I absolutely love that. He's just like cackling up a storm as he's torching all these things.
Gotta love Murray.
Yeah. And then Hopper just picks up this giant random sword that somebody left on the...
Did you wait, did you hear the story behind the sword?
I just assumed it was one of the weapons that they had on the...
That's what it was, but it's actually the sword that Arnold Schwarzenegger used in, I believe,
like Conan. The prop itself? No way.
It's the actual prop from when Arnold Schwarzenegger played Conan.
That's really cool, actually. That's a sweet callback.
I believe I saw that earlier. I wish I had that right now. Well, if I find it, I'll send it, and then you can put it in the show notes. But yeah, I believe it's the actual one. Like, it's not even a replica. Like, it's the actual one.
That's so cool
that they used.
That's amazing. So Hopper picks up this giant sword, just starts slashing up this burnt, crispy Demogorgon. Oh my gosh, that was an awesome scene. And not to get a little, I'm getting a little ahead of myself now, but like it was like the second to last scene in the last episode. They had all of these storylines going on at the same time, and there was a moment where all of them were like in super intense like battle scenes, and they were all going in slow motion, and they like cut to each of the scenes, and it was just like, wow, that was like a moment that I haven't felt in a TV show in a really long time. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool that all this stuff is happening right now. And that moment was also part of it when Hopper was going slow motion, just like with the sword chopping off the arm of the Demogorgon and then eventually slicing off his head. Yeah, that was incredible. So
aggressive.
Yeah, totally aggressive. And like, kind of like, I don't know, this was another one of those things where I sat back and I was like, really, you're gonna pick up this sword and try to fight this giant
because like
monster thing.
We never saw the sword before, and then it just shows up.
Just shows up. It's like randomly sitting on the ground. Like, oh, okay, alrighty then.
Yeah, that confused me because for a second I was like, wait, there's a sword. It's like, I guess this is where they like.
Oh, okay.
They fought the Demogorgon.
Right, yeah, and that's what I assumed. So, like, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, oh, okay.
You could have, like, and maybe it's worth going back and seeing if it was, like, on the wall.
No, okay. Oh, yeah, that's true. That would be
because remember they unlocked that door and then there's a bunch of weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like if it's not on the wall, then I
went back and rewatched the last half of the last episode because the last episode is like over 2 hours long.
It's 2.5 hours. I was like,
I should like rewatch this episode because if I'm being honest, I was super tired and there was definitely some stuff that I missed during that episode.
Same,
so I was
actually.
I was like, okay, I got to go back and just rewatch the last part of this at least because that part was epic when all that stuff was happening. So going back and rewatching it, you can see the sword on the ground like when they're like running from the Demogorgon and the dogs. So it's like they're in the scene. It's not like it just like popped out of nowhere, but still it was just kind of like when he picked it up, it was like, oh, okay, we're doing this, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, that
crazy.
Worked.
All right. Yeah. And it worked out for him. So, but yeah, that was incredible. And that was probably my favorite scene of this whole season was the going back and forth between this. And then that was the same time that 11 was like, using her powers to force Vecna against like one of the posts in his like house so he didn't kill Max. And I'm trying to remember if there was another. I think they were going back to the California scene as well, where she was like in the pool, or they had. I think at that point they had taken her out of the pool, and Mike was like talking to her, and all of this stuff was happening in slow motion, just super super epic, man. And again, probably my favorite scene in that whole season. So any other comments, Robbie, on the Russia crew? So obviously they get back. It's an awesome reunion between 11 and Hopper and Joyce and her boys. By the way, Joyce throughout this whole season, like she just leaves her kids. And you had mentioned this in the previous episode that this is the 80s, so like people probably actually did this back then. She just leaves her kids, goes to Alaska and to Russia, and she doesn't mention her kids like the whole time. Like she doesn't even care. She's just like focused on Hopper and getting him back, which makes sense. Like totally fine, but like doesn't even mention her kids at all. So when they kind of
with the amount of trauma that she has had to endure
in the first
like your son disappeared for like how long, and you're just like peace out.
The first season, that was like the whole season was about her trying to figure out what the heck was going on with Will. Like that was like that whole season. And now she's just like, he's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to go get Hopper now.
Will's fine. He's worried about what's going on with Mike.
Yeah. Exactly. So we get back, they embrace. And that's what I thought when she was like hugging her kids. I was like, you haven't even like mentioned them this whole season, and now you better be thankful that they're still alive, that Argyle got them through that whole thing. So but yeah, anyways, speaking of Argyle, let's head over to the California crew. So I think, to be completely honest, throughout the season, this was probably my least favorite storyline. It just felt like there wasn't a whole lot moving or happening. And Jonathan, in my opinion, is the least likable character in this whole season.
Yeah, he's a worthless. He is now a worthless character.
He does kind of like. It's not a redemption, but he does kind of play a little bit of a part in like, basically being a good brother, which he probably hasn't been this whole time because he's been stoned. Out of his mind
they
with
tried
Argyle.
to do the whole like I'm stoned because of my issues. Like, you're 18 years old. Like your brother, I think, has had a few more issues than your buddy.
You look like
you've
gotten
40. Like, you got the girl that like all the guys want, and you don't want to talk to her. Like you're kind of trashy now. I'm kind of over your whole.
He was definitely my least favorite throughout this whole season. So
yeah. And they tried. I agree with you. They tried to do like this whole redemption thing with him, like being a good brother and talking to Will and like noticing these things about Will. But it's like that's the first time they did it, and it was like 5 minutes total, and you're just kind of over it, and no one cares.
Yeah, Exactly. So that part, not my favorite, but anyways, they pick up 11. I believe that's in episode 8. That might be going back to episode 7. No, I think that is in episode 8.
I can't remember which episode was which. Yeah. It all run together. I watched them all.
It's in episode 8 because Papa dies in episode 8. So they go pick her up in the middle of the desert there. Papa dies, and she kind of uses that to kind of appeal to Vecna's like personal like humanity in episode 9, which doesn't really work because at that point Vecna's he's got all of his humanities basically gone at that point. He's like, you know what? I don't care about that so much anymore. Yeah. Right. He, at that point, I love that kind of, she kind of makes an appeal when they're in that scene where 11 is talking to Vecna and basically trying to get him to stop. Like, hey, it's not your fault. You're not a monster.
You're not the monster. Yeah.
Papa was the monster. And he's like, no, he's not a monster. He was just a man. Like, we are the ones that are superheroes. We have the superhero powers. Like, that dude is nothing. So at that point,
when they talked about that, they talked about that a ton. Like, and that kind of became the theme of these 2 episodes. Was like, who was the monster? Who was responsible for what happened to both of these? Because 11's playing this off like, no, she figured out like, no, Papa, like this lying that he's done is the reason. Like, it's an issue. They have their issue, and the reason why 11 is the way she is, probably partially the reason why Vecna's the way he is. But then Vecna's like, no, like, I've legit been like this. The dude was obsessed with Black Widow's spiders and like just wanted to be an apex predator, and he made himself into one. Like no, like he just needed a way to like train it basically, and Papa kind of helped him do that. Yeah. And then he might have made it worse by like making him hide it for so many years.
Yeah.
But no, he was always Vecna was always a bad person. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was kind of that from the beginning. I mean, even
he killed his family before he met Papa.
What I was going to go into. Like,
not good person.
Yeah, he's not really a great guy. It does kind of make me...
People don't do that.
Generally, they don't generally murder their families.
That kills people.
Yeah, so... But anyways, so they end up picking up Elle, getting her. Brenner, Papa, dies. And again, she kind of uses that to try to appeal to Vecna. They pick her up. They realize that they're not going to make it back in time. And they just so happen to come upon a pizza place that Argyle works at. I forget the name. Is it Surfer Pizza or something? Surfs Up? Something like that. Surfs Up
Pizza. Something like that.
So they just so happen to come upon that and find they have all the resources that they can make 11 a pool there, which is pretty funny.
Then the guy at the counter is the exact same as Argyle.
Yeah, it makes. Oh my gosh, when that part came up, I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's so funny. So they convince him to break into the pizza place so they can use their resources, and she basically hops into Max's mind because Vecna is in Max's mind, and it just, I don't know, they did a great job at kind of intertwining all of these storylines and moving between all of these storylines through these 2 episodes, but like they obviously don't know what's going on in Hawkins at that time because they're in who knows where on their way to Hawkins. And I think at the end of the episode, it takes them like 2 more days to get to Hawkins. Like they're still in the middle of like the desert in the middle of nowhere. So they don't know what's going on. But at the same exact time, the Hawkins crew is like developing this plan to go and kill Vecna. And it's just like perfect timing where Elle goes into Max's mind at the same time that they're developing this plan, and Max eventually gets to a point where she is being, her mind is being invaded by Vecna, and it's just like, wow, okay, that worked out great. Good job, everybody. So, the way that they intertwine all of these storylines just works out so perfectly, man. Like, I absolutely loved how they kept everything interesting, and even the less interesting parts that I thought of Volume 1 got very intense and interesting in Volume 2. So it was an awesome way to kind of intertwine everything in my eyes. But and just another side note, we got Will, who is the poor guy, obviously is in love with Mike. And Mike just
if you couldn't
tell,
if you somehow missed that.
They do. It's actually kind of hilarious. They make it so obvious, but never say anything about it.
Right.
It's kind of hilarious how they made that all play out. But
well, and then he's like crying, like bawling in the back.
Yeah, he's literally crying, and Mike is sitting right next to him, just totally oblivious. Like I honestly can't wait for the moment in season 5 where Will is like, "I've loved you this whole time, Mike," and Mike's just like, "What? Like, you're my best friend. What the heck are you talking about?"
I still really worry, and I mentioned this in the first time we talked about season 4, is that I worry that Will's gonna end up being kind of the tool that Vecna uses.
Because
I think that's where we're going. Where
that's heavily implied through the last episode for sure.
And it's like at the end of the episode, it's kind of clear that's kind of what they were gonna look to do.
And this is kind of a little bit later in that episode, but basically, I think it's Elle is talking to him, and she says, "I hope he's gone," or I hope somebody says something to the effect of, "I hope he's gone," and Will is like, "Oh no, he's still alive. I can feel him."
Yeah,
and then at that point, it's like, "Oh yeah, Will is somehow going to be used by Vecna in season 5 to do something evil in the course of bringing the Upside Down to the real world." I'm assuming that's kind of the direction that's going. But and then later, when they have that fun, happy family reunion, Will like feels the chills, which is a cool callback to season 1, where he's got like the slug or whatever that's inhabiting him. He like always feels the chills on the back of his neck when stuff is going down. So he felt the chills. They all go head on to see the crazy destruction that's going to be happening, and that's crazy ending to that. But anyways, that was, I don't know, man. Like I really, really enjoy the callbacks that they've had in this season 2 to different seasons, and that was one that I thought was really, really cool. How they were going all the way back to season 1, and I'm assuming, and I think Max even mentioned this in that episode. Like, I'm assuming we're going to learn more about like how the heck Will fits into this in the first place, because we still don't know why is it Will that was like the kid that all this happened to. So even because season 1 was all about him and getting him out of the Upside Down, and they didn't really go into that. They just kind of started at that point and then kind of went forward from there. So it'll be interesting.
Well, it's just like, it is incredible the Duffer Brothers' foresight.
Oh yeah,
for all of this, and that Netflix was just like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like the mist creatures in the first season that you see, and you're like, oh, those are interesting, and then you get nothing from it, and then 40 hours later, you finally like know what it is.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
And then did you see all like it's been popular on TikTok, but it's like, Vecna's been there the whole time. Like, we've heard the clock chimes.
The clock chimes. Yeah,
throughout, those have been there all the time, and we all heard them.
Yeah.
But we all just, like, took it as, like, those are just scary moments. Like, no, that's freaking Vecna.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch all the seasons, it's freaking Vecna. And it's wild. Like, and Netflix, like, Netflix gets kind of the shaft sometimes, I feel like, because they've been the big dog for so long. That people are kind of like the MCU are kind of waiting on their downcline.
Yeah, right.
Or downtrend, sorry.
Downcline.
Downcline.
Inventing new words here for the
Infinity Bros podcast. I make my own words. But like Netflix freaking hit this on the head, like hit this perfectly on the head. Really, like we're letting the Duffer Brothers do whatever they want. Yeah. We trust them. Even though, like, I don't know what the Duffer Brothers did before this.
I don't know either, actually. That's a great question.
I could not tell you, but, like, now they can do whatever they want. Like, they're going to get... This is some more nerd news, I guess, but they're getting the rights to do Death Note, which also on Netflix. Netflix also tried to do a live action Death Note, and if you know anything about Death Note, it's an amazing, one of the best anime stories out there. It's probably top 10 anime stories of all time. And then there's freaking Netflix, and they murdered it, and everyone's pissed about it. So, but if you give it to the Duffer Brothers, I'm all in. I'm back on Netflix trying to do whatever they can with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Netflix announced, I think it was just last week, that the Duffer Brothers are forming, I think it's called Upside Down Productions or something like that. It's like a Netflix studio that they're going to be producing a bunch of, movies and shows. And one of them is even a Stranger Things spin-off show, from what I've heard. So that will be interesting to see.
Spin-offs worry me. I don't like spin-offs.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. It depends on what
it's a Duffer Brothers, so it's probably fine. Right. But
it depends on what the spin-off is going to be focused on. Because if it's relevant to the main story, then great. If it's just like a spin-off for spin-off's sake, I feel like those are just so hit and miss. They're not necessary, and if they're not good and they're not necessary, then it just
why did
really
we do
messy.
this?
Why did we do this? So I'm just looking at this is Matt Duffer. I'm assuming Ross, I think is his brother's name. I'm assuming they're writing together all of these, but they basically had Wayward Pines TV show, and then Hidden, Road to Moloch, We All Fall Down. They're like kind of like horror-y shows, movies, and TV shows that they wrote for prior to Stranger Things, but nothing that I heard off of. I think I've heard of Wayward Pines. That sounds familiar, but I haven't watched a whole lot of horror stuff anyways. So that's before Stranger Things, like they were relative unknowns, Right. So Netflix really snagged a good crew of writers and producers in the Duffer Brothers for sure. So, anyways, so let's head over to the Hawkins Crew, who I think this storyline was the most interesting throughout the entire show, because we have Eddie, who was a new introduction to this show, Rip Eddie, who ends up dying in the last episode.
Just killing characters that we grow to love.
Killing characters, man.
Yeah.
And I'm actually okay. I know there's been some controversy online of the Duffer Brothers actually came out with a statement that was basically like, this isn't Game of Thrones. We're not just killing.
I said that on the front
randomly.
end, but
right.
It's not Westeros.
So, exactly. So, I'm okay with it. It would be nice if they maybe killed off one or two of the main characters too, just to be consistent. But every season they introduce this character that we absolutely adore and love,
or is at least interesting. Like Max's brother, whatever his name was, we
didn't love him, but he was interesting.
Total douche, but he made things interesting.
I think it was season 2. Bob, Sean Astin.
Gosh, yeah.
Everybody loved Bob. Bob was amazing.
Sons of bitches. Everyone loved Bob.
Bob was the greatest. Just thinking back to Bob now I'm a little upset that we're even talking about this. So, right. But anyways, everybody loved Bob. Everybody loved Eddie, and they had
basically, if they introduce anyone new in season 5, that person's going to
person's probably going to die. Yeah, that makes the most sense. But anyways, Eddie, we really grow to love this guy throughout this season, and man, he takes such an awesome journey of being kind of like the town freak, kind of feared and hated, and he doesn't really know how to feel about himself. He thinks he's a coward. He runs away from situations. Yep. And in that last scene, obviously, we're probably going to go back, rewind a little bit, and talk more about what the Hawkins Crew did. But in that last scene, he finally decides, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm going to be like a true hero. I'm going to actually, do something. Because he realizes that if they go back to Hawkins and they let that trailer destroy with all the demibats kind of attacking it, if they let that trailer be destroyed, they're all going to be let into Hawkins, let into the real world. So he's like, I have to go and distract them so that the people of Hawkins who hate him and despise him and think he murdered, all those teenagers, he's like actually like trying to save the town of Hawkins. Yeah, which is
that was
man.
Cool, like really awesome. But the dude also had the most metal, guitar riff.
That was so
of all
awesome.
time.
And it was like kind of like, really, this is how we're doing it, but it fit so well. And
I didn't feel that at all. Intense. I was like, this is exactly how we're doing it. This is brilliant.
that was my initial thought when they like they kind of like initiated the plan, and I was like, really, this is what we're doing. And when it started happening, I was like, I have zero reservations about this anymore. It was fantastic. It was amazing. It was kind of like,
and then I loved that when he walked into the trailer and he was like, it's like it was made for the apocalypse, and you just see the guitar and it's just not touched by anything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like, oh my gosh, that's just
so awesome.
It's a brilliant weapon. It's Thor's hammer, man. Like
it kind of for real.
Weapon.
It kind of reminded me of, I think it was season 3 when and this is probably a little bit more on the nose, or if you want to call it, but the moment where Dustin and his girlfriend sing the Never Ending Story song, it kind of reminded me of that. Like when it started, I was like, what is happening right now? Like, why are we doing this? But as the song went on, I was like, I don't care. I absolutely love this right now.
It just
I
works.
want this right now. So, oh man, yeah, that reminded me of that, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it fit Eddie so well. It just is like what he would have done. And just an incredible way for a character to go out, honestly. If you're gonna kill off a character, that was the way to do it. So kudos to Duffer Brothers, not for killing him off, because we all don't like you for killing him off.
Yeah, that sucked. Like, he could have just been badly injured.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He didn't have to die, but I guess it, I don't know. Does it raise the stakes if he dies or not?
I don't think so, because he's such a new character and only half the crew knew him.
Yeah. So okay,
if Jonathan dies, it would be more impactful for Jonathan to die than it would be for him to even be a character anymore.
All right, I'm with you.
Okay, that's his number one use right now, is just murder Jonathan.
Robbie Talley on Jonathan dying. God, it wouldn't have changed the story at all if Jonathan had died.
Well, but then they all would have had something to like fight for, because Jonathan, they all love Jonathan.
Well,
yeah, sure they do.
I mean, everybody did love Eddie by the end of that, like especially Dustin.
But only half the crew knew Eddie.
That's true. But like the relationship between him and Dustin, I mean, that was something special at the end when Dustin was there with him, at the end dying and stuff like that. But incredible way. But okay, pivot here. So we also have Max. Max obviously has been being attacked by Vecna. She is maimed and dies, actually. 11 somehow brings her back to life. We still don't know anything about that. Like, well, how the heck did she do that? We don't know. She somehow brings Max back to life. Here's the question, though, because I heard this from somebody else. Would there be more impact if Max had died and they just left her dead? Or I mean, my thought is that she has a role to play in season 5, obviously, because why else would they bring her back? But why, like, is there more impact in her dying or her living in that moment? Because, like, it would have had the same effect, like you said, if Jonathan died, the whole crew has something to, like, be inspired to like, figure out what's going on in Hawkins more than if she is sitting there in the hospital bed, like, alive still.
I think what we'll find out is that they had to show just how powerful 11 can be.
Yeah.
So now we know 11, if someone's like on the verge of dying, 11 can bring them back.
Right.
Somehow.
True.
So like that's something like I wouldn't be surprised if like we've been talking about, if Will becomes possessed by Vecna, it's like a thing where they have to kill Will. And they're like, it'll be okay. We're like you're gonna die, and like or whatever, and he's okay with it, kind of thing. If he can talk to them, but like is still like attacking them. So I don't know. But like, and they're like, it's gonna be okay. And then like towards the end, because they've said we're gonna get I saw this report as well that we're going to get a Return of the King type ending. So I assume that's going to be like multiple different endings.
Yeah.
So I assume like if that was the way they wanted to go, you could get 11 bringing Will back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that could be like, it would be him waking up, his Frodo scene, you know? Like Frodo's in bed and wakes up and he's totally fine. It's like Will wakes up and he's fine. Like,
honestly, that would be fantastic. Will, he's just like in this golden room with like windows on both sides,
and they all
everybody
laugh
comes
like
in
idiots.
and they're all laughing. Yeah.
Frodo.
Will, oh my gosh, Will, you're alive. I want to see
I love
that
you.
now.
Wait, what?
wait, what? That's what I'm gunning for now in season 5. I can't wait to see that scene.
I just wrote the ending of season 5. You're welcome.
There you go. Duffer Brothers, we've got it right here for you.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't have, this 10 years, written ahead of time. I got it for you. I got the ending. You guys are wondering how to end it. I got you.
Or, hear us out, Duffer Brothers. We make multiple endings. This one is one of them. And then you show them to like different people on Netflix and just confuse everybody, confuse the internet of different endings that they've had in the season. Everybody sees a different ending.
The Vecna wins ending.
Oh, that would be crazy. Oh, that'd be intense, man. All right, so let's back up a little bit. So from what I'm hearing, though, you think it's more impactful that 11 brought her back to life than her actually being alive or dead. That's the takeaway that you got from that.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen and like kind of went off on a spiel there, but I think there's a good chance that power from 11 plays a role in season 5.
Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely true, and that's something I hadn't thought of. But my thought was on Max is that since she was one of the victims of Vecna, she potentially has some kind of connection to him now. If she is
kind of like Will kind of thing.
They have that little scene where Elle goes into Max's mind when she's in the hospital to see if she can, wake her up or whatever. And there's nothing. There's nothing in her mind. And they mention maybe she will never wake up. So I don't know anything about that. But there's got to be some reason they left her alive, in my opinion. So I think, and that's a good point. Maybe it was just to show Elle's power. But I think she maybe still has some connection to Vecna. And maybe they can use that to somehow, work into their plans or whatnot in season 5. So that was kind of my thought on Max dying. But okay, so let's back up a little bit. We got the Hawkins crew. They are collecting all their supplies to carry out this big plan to kill Vecna, because they know they know that he is going to be in this like kind of sleeping state when he is in Max's mind, kind of similar to when 11 is in her sleeping state when she's in other people's minds.
Yep.
So they come up with this elaborate plan, which the plan itself is, I was impressed with that plan. I was like, all right, this is pretty solid. Nancy Wheeler just goes to the supply store and gets this giant shotgun and saws it off to I was like, this is
illegal. Yeah, I think so.
It's illegal, but it's all good, guys.
And the douchebag Jason is there.
Oh, Jason. Oh my gosh. That was
how satisfying was it to watch him die?
Oh my gosh. That was brutal too.
It was so quick. I wish it was slower.
Right. It was so quick that the first time I watched it, I totally missed it. Like, I think I might have seen him in the background, but it didn't register in my mind that he died. So the second time I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, they just melted him in half. Like, that was wild. And yeah, you're totally right. It was pretty satisfying to watch, because that guy was the biggest douche probably in any of the Stranger. Even he might have been a bigger douche than Billy was. Like,
he was bigger douche than Billy.
Billy was pretty douchey, but like Jason was a straight up just awful human being. Like he was the worst. So you're right. That was pretty satisfying to watch. So he got what he deserved in the end. So they bring this plan together. Everything, and this is what it comes down to again, is that the scene where all of them are in slow motion, right? Like, everything seems to be lost. Everything in slow motion. They have their plan. Everything goes wrong. Jason is beaten up Lucas. Max is getting attacked by Vecna. Nancy, Steve, and Robin are all held by tentacles on the wall. Hopper is getting attacked by a demidog. Like, everything seems to be lost. And then all of a sudden, Mike has his inspirational speech that he loves Elle, and that she should. And I think you actually mentioned this too in the first episode of review of Stranger Things. Like, 11 is a superhero. She needs to, like, just embrace that she is a superhero, is what it comes down to. And Mike really is doing that. He's like, you're my superhero. Like, you can do anything. I believe in you no matter what. And that inspires her. That's the pivotal moment, the turning point. She is able to, and I love how it's all slow motion. Everything seems lost. And then it just goes to black for like 3 or 4 seconds. And then when it comes back up, Vecna is flying. Everybody else is all of a sudden, like, the tentacles release on Nancy, Steve, and Robin. Lucas starts beating up Jason. Like, all of everything starts turning. And that moment was just so cool. That was probably the best cinematic moment we had this season, I think. But anyways, they keep going. Elle ends up defeating Vecna. They decide to they throw their homemade Molotov cocktails at Vecna when he's sleeping with the
which is hilarious.
That is hilarious. That was fantastic. I don't know anything about Molotov cocktails. Like, I've never made one myself, but every time I've seen one in, like, a media format, it's like a bottle, like a pop bottle or a beer bottle, right? Like a little bottle.
It's alcohol.
Right. No, yeah. But it's like in a little bottle. And these guys have these giant bottles of, like, whiskey and, like, rum and stuff like that. I thought that was hilarious how they just have these giant bombs instead of these little tiny bottles that I've seen in other media. So they just giant bombs, throw it, and Nancy's, like, just unloading on Vecna with her sawed-off shotgun. Epic moment. And Vecna falls out. They go down to him. He's gone. Vecna's gone. Obviously, he survived, and he is going to be the main villain in season 5. And we learn more about when he's kind of monologuing to 11 in that moment. We learn a little bit more about, like, what happened to him. He goes down in the Upside Down, and, like, that was kind of a cool, like, cinematic moment too, where he, like, goes into the Upside Down. Man, Vecna himself, like, he was scary initially, but the more I watch him in his suit, the more I see, like, the Grinch, and I don't know why. Like, he stands there,
that's so accurate, because he's got, like,
this kind of this, like, a little bit of a gut, and he kind of just, like, stands there like this all the time.
Every time 1,000%.
Every time I see him now, I'm just kind of like, he's not really that scary anymore.
No, he looks like he's kind of in a Grinch outfit, like. And that I thought that too. It's like, why don't we like? I know, like, it's kind of cliche to make people bulkier, you know, like
right.
Have, like, more that would chest, make him. Like, let's give him a
that
would
make him way
chest.
More menacing, as if he had bigger shoulders and less of a gut. So that would have probably helped me be a little more scared of him. But the practical effects on that dude are amazing. So I'm not going to complain about that. But the actor that plays him, now I gotta look that up. Like the actor that plays him did a perfect job. Just an amazing job of just being the creepiest, like, and I don't know if I would go so far.
The next, like,
oh yeah, like, he's going to be cast in some villain stuff for sure.
That guy's going to be like, he's going to be playing the Joker in. He should be the guy playing the Joker in the Robert Pattinson Batman films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, no joke. He should be the Joker in those. Like, that shouldn't be the guy. Like, I think the guy that they got will be okay. But, like, that guy is terrifying. Because, like, when he turns on 11, like, when they're back at the facility, you're like, oh my gosh. Like, this guy turned into a completely different person. Like, is brilliant.
Yeah, that dude is incredible. He's going to be getting a ton more roles, I'm sure. as like a villain or a creepy character. So I'm gonna keep looking up his name because I want to actually acknowledge him. But like because of that, and like visually, after the first kind of initial, like, he was obviously creepy and stuff right away when we saw him, but every time I saw him I kind of was like, that got into the back of my mind, the Grinch stance when he's like, when it's far away, when Max in volume 1, Max is running away during the running up the hill, it looks back on him and he's just standing there like like just watching her run away. Back.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it gives me kind of a, do you know what Old Greg is?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those? I'm Old Greg.
Oh, Greg. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Oh. But anyways, yeah. So, but how he acted and played the character was flawless. I thought he was just incredible as Vecna. So, just such a great. I think that's the best villain we've had for sure. In Stranger Things, that's not really a hard thing to
do.
Jamie
Campbell Bower is his name.
Jamie Campbell Bower. Yeah, so yeah, that dude's definitely be getting some more roles in the future because, and honestly, like initially,
he's actually been in a few things.
The first couple episodes of Volume 1, I did not see him being the villain. I thought he was just truthfully thought he was just the guy that was trying to help.
I was there
11.
with you. Yeah, I said that in the last
and then as they continue,
I did not expect it.
As they continue through the series, they kind of start focusing on him more and more, and then you're kind of like, okay, there's something about this guy. So maybe, maybe it's in the back of your mind he could potentially be a villain. Like, not even those words necessarily, but like there's something off about this guy.
Right.
And then when it flips, it's like, oh wow, they set us up perfectly for that. That was a great flip. Totally made sense, and it was still surprising, even though it made sense. It wasn't like, super predictable. Or maybe predictable is not the right word, because it was predictable if you like followed the storyline and everything they were doing. But it was, even if it was predictable, it totally made sense and it played perfectly. So, but yeah. He did an incredible job as Vecna, and he's going to be awesome in season 5. So, can't wait to have him back. And that's basically it. We finally get that last scene where Will gets his heebie-jeebies on his neck, and they head over to some random. Didn't even look like Hawkins. It looked like some random field that there's this giant black cloud with red lightning, which I'm assuming is the whatever cloud that they saw in the Russian prison. So Beast. Just the Beast. Or I kept thinking of the
Beast,
the lost monster.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't even know what they called them. I haven't watched Lost for so long, but the lost jungle monster that's basically just like a black cloud or black mist or whatever. That's what I kept thinking of.
So creative.
Yeah. But yeah, and then honestly, overall, incredible, amazing season. The one thing that I thought at the end was, and this is totally just the Duffer Brothers setting this up for the finale season, which is totally okay in my opinion. Seasons 1 through 3, they wrapped up pretty nicely with bows. Like, even if there hadn't been continuing seasons, you could have been, and they got more and more dependent on a next season as they went. Like, obviously season 3, they had a post-credit scene of the Russian prison. So it was like, oh yeah, well, obviously there's going to be another season. But like almost all of those seasons, you could have been like just done and like, went on. They could have done something else. I'm glad we've gotten everything. They obviously had this plan from the very beginning to go the 5 seasons, and
still blows
incredible,
my mind.
Just incredible. But this season obviously was left more open for season 5. So that was just a thought I had, not really a negative thing on the season or anything, but like all these other seasons just wrapped up so nicely, and this one they left wide open for season 5. So
you okay with the length?
I love the length because I didn't care that, like, I was interested through every single episode. There was not one of those episodes this season that I felt too long or dragged or anything in any capacity. If you're gonna give me that length and keep me interested, sure, make them 2 hours a pop. I don't care, as long as I'm interested. That's all I care about.
They went the opposite way of what Disney's been doing.
Exactly. And Disney needs to take some notes out of. Well, Netflix obviously has a lot of stuff to work on with their TV format. Like, they need to start releasing that stuff weekly because they're losing subscribers left and right. But Disney needs to take a page out of Netflix's book. They need to do more episodes. They need to do longer episodes. They need to, because this story 1,000 times better than every single MCU Plus or Disney Plus show that we've gotten. This story was incredible.
Say even season 3, which isn't my favorite, is probably on par with the MCU's best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's on. I would put season 3, which I would say is the worst season of Stranger Things, in my opinion, on par with Loki. And like, that's not a shot really at either. It's just like, it speaks to the scope of it. Like, because like everything else that they've done is better. And even like, I guess even now that I think more back on season 3, I may like that more than Loki. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'd have to watch Loki again. But I think it just comes down to length, because season 3, because all these are 8 episodes, right? So I got 8 hours of content from season 3. Whereas Loki, I probably got 4 altogether.
I think there were even more, honestly. If I remember correctly, I think the Stranger Things seasons, they've been up to like 10 episodes, I think.
Okay.
But
so yeah, it's like I just get so much more content.
Exactly.
Just going to Stranger Things
and
rather than going
I think that's Disney's fear, is that they're trying to keep these short to keep people engaged in them. But I mean, if you're able to keep people engaged with longer episodes, you're going to get much more of a return, in my opinion, for these seasons. And I don't know. I think Disney Plus maybe is just trying to do new stuff too, like experiment with new things. And I don't know if that's working out for them at this point. So they need to at least keep experimenting and keep doing different things. We're looking forward to She-Hulk, which is going to be 9 episodes instead of 6. So maybe we'll get a more complete story in that than we've gotten in some of these other Disney Plus shows. So anyways, yeah, amazing Stranger Things 4 season. Kudos to Netflix and the Duffer Brothers and the entire cast and crew. It was an awesome ride, and we can't wait for season 5, which is going to be
in like
2 years from now. I can't wait that long. That sucks. That really
and you also got to remember, these kids are only supposed to be like freshmen.
Yeah, I know.
So in 2 years, they're all gonna be like 21 years old and older, but they're still gonna have to be freshmen, because obviously I don't think no time can go by, right?
Yeah, right. Like, you have to start season 5 like right from the point where season 4 ends. So they've got to be the same age. Dustin, what's his name? Gatton, I think is his name. He's 20. So I'm assuming the rest of the cast is around that same age.
Yeah, they're all around that age.
So they're going to be 22 playing freshmen at high school. Yes. And Jonathan is like a 40-year-old guy.
Going to be 56 years old.
Oh my gosh, he looks so old. It's ridiculous. The poor guy's just got like resting. I think Max called it resting sad face. Just like his face.
He has deeper eyes than Max does. They're like in the back of his head.
Yeah, absolutely.
And drooping.
Yeah. Just a sad-looking guy.
He really is.
So sad. Well, Infinity Bros Universe, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We thank you for sticking with us on this review of Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. Robbie, any other comments, questions, or concerns about Stranger Things Season 4?
I hope that Jonathan dies and 11 doesn't bring him back.
I'm with you. That is a hot take, but I think most
also
people
I hope
can agree
Steve
with
and
that.
Nancy, and then I hope
Steve
Nancy
and
moves on very
Nancy,
quickly
yeah.
and goes to Steve.
That's the
Steve and Nancy
relationship
get
we
together.
all wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And
What a redemption from being the douche. Like he was like we thought he used to be bad,
and now he's
then
the nice guy.
Yeah, well, even comparatively to from him to Jason and to Bobby, right? Bobby.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Compared to those two, he was a saint. Like he was never that bad. Like he was a little bit of a tool, but like he was never that bad.
Yeah. Exactly.
So like now Nancy's like, hey, there's a lot worse, Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay, and the guy just wants
worse. Yeah.
The guy
including
just
Jonathan.
Wants a
Jonathan's in that worst category.
The guy just wants a Winnebago and 17 kids. That's all he wants.
Exactly. Just all right. Rooting for Nancy and Steve in season 5.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You can check out the Infinity Bros at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, theinfinitybros.com. And you can also subscribe to our Patreon if you want some exclusive content, including this uncut episode that is going to be dropping tonight, and potentially another Timestone review podcast that we're going to be developing in the future. So make sure you check out the Patreon, and we'll put all of these links in the show notes. But anyways, Robbie, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a blast talking Stranger Things with you.
Very happy to be here.
And thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We love you 3000. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at The Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send us listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.